Next on the news, Catholics celebrating the ceasefire in Gaza. The Holy Father giving an update on the only Catholic parish there during his Wednesday general audience. A show of pride in the Diocese of Immigrants from the Dominican Republic as the faithful celebrate a centuries-old Marian devotion. From a celebration for Mary to a Mass for the Holy Child of Jesus, Filipinos honor the feast day of Santo Niño. Plus, ahead of the March for Life, the story of a woman who helps moms in need all year round.
Terminating her pregnancy was the biggest regret of Cheryl Riley's life. Today, she helps save others from what could be the biggest regret of theirs. That story's coming up.
I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. After more than a year of fighting, people in Gaza are picking up the pieces now that the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas went into effect last Sunday. According to the UN, 90% of housing units in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed. But a sign of hope. For the first time in months, people are in the streets starting to rebuild their lives. And it will be a long road for the people of Gaza. So far, 200 bodies have been discovered in that rubble and 7,000 more are believed trapped. But as hundreds of humanitarian aid trucks flow into Gaza each day and the Israeli hostages begin to be released, people of faith, including the Holy Father, are starting to feel hopeful. After 15 months of war, the Catholic Church is celebrating the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. It's a step towards peace the Pope has been waiting for.
Esprimo gratitudine a tutti I mediatori. È un bel lavoro questo di mediare perché si faccia la pace. Grazie ai mediatori. E anche ringrazio a tutte le parti coinvolte in questo importante risultato.
On Wednesday, the Holy Father gave an update on the only Catholic church in Gaza, Holy Family Parish. Hundreds of refugees have lived there for a year and a half, and their pastor hopes the displaced will soon be able to gradually return to their homes.
Ieri ho chiamato, lo faccio tutti I giorni, alla parrocchia di Gaza. Erano contenti, lì dentro ci sono 600 persone. Parrocchia e collegio, e mi hanno detto: oggi abbiamo mangiato lenticchie con pollo. È una cosa che in questi tempi non erano abituati a fare, soltanto qualche verdura, qualcosa.
This agreement between Israel and Hamas also means pilgrimages to the Holy Land can resume. The Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem encourages people to not be afraid of returning to a normality that has not existed until now. It's important for Christians in the area to welcome pilgrims. In addition to the spiritual value of the visit, for many locals, it's their economic livelihood. Cardinal Pizzaballa already said this in 2018.
Pilgrimages give work to many Christians. Many families are able to live with dignity because of this work. Welcoming millions of pilgrims gives us the experience of the Universal Church, the embrace of the Universal Church in Jerusalem.
During that general audience, Pope Francis also expressed his closeness to those suffering from the wildfires in LA. You can read more about what is happening in the Gaza Strip and stay updated on the California wildfires online at thetablet.org. And while you're there, consider subscribing to the paper. In this week's Tablet, you can read about how one Catholic academy is stepping up to help families in need in California. Plus, see the bright young artists of the Brooklyn Diocese. The paper proudly displaying the winners of their Keep Christ in Christmas art contest. On Tuesday night, the Diocese of Immigrants honored the patron saint of the Dominican Republic. Nearly 200 people packed the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph for the feast of Our Lady of Altagracia, or Our Lady of High Grace. The image of Mary with baby Jesus in a manger dates back to the 16th century and is the most popular devotion in the Caribbean nation. Brooklyn Bishop Robert Brennan, who was the main celebrant, spoke to the young people present at the end of the Mass about how they need to keep the faith going to the next generation.
I hope that you who are here today take this torch, if you will, this baton, and you now carry it from one generation to the next to the next. Please keep at it. The church needs you today. The church will need you tomorrow. I need you. Your families need you. The world, Brooklyn and Queens, need you, because we need bold, joyful, unapologetic, credible witnesses. And we find that in you, young people. So thank you for your presence.
The Mass also celebrated Dominican culture. A basket of Dominican products and flowers were presented, along with the presentation of the gifts. Over the weekend, a Queens parish honored one of the oldest Christian artifacts in the Philippines, a statue of the infant Jesus called the Santo Niño. Dozens upon dozens of devotees carried images of the statue along with red flowers to present to it into St. Sebastian Church in Woodside on Sunday. Bishop Brennan celebrated the feast day mass, which honors an image of the Christ child that dates back more than 500 years. Explorer Ferdinand Magellan brought the Santo Niño to the Philippines and spread Christianity throughout the nation. This Friday, thousands of people will travel to D.C. for the March for Life. The national demonstration is meant to show support for the unborn, but for Catholics, that fight for life isn't just one day, it's all 365. And one woman in New Jersey is using her own painful past to help mothers in need. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has her story from Newark.
Every walk of life
Newborn baby. Here you go. This
finds compassion here at the Mercy House. This location, one of 3 in the Archdiocese of Newark, serves 100 people a day.
God was like, oh, if you think you're only helping women, that is not what you're doing here. We just help women, children, families, anyone that needed help.
This is all long sleeve women.
When director of the Archdiocese's Respect Life office and the Mercy House, Cheryl Riley, started out, she thought she'd only be helping pregnant women who were contemplating abortion but chose life instead. Women who made the decision she was too afraid to make 40 years ago.
They gave me like a paper receipt. And I remember just thinking like years later, like I received a receipt that day in exchange for my baby's life. My fear was greater than my faith.
On May 30th, 1985, a 19-year-old Cheryl ended the life of her unborn child. What followed was years of unimaginable pain.
After my abortion, I didn't even want to live. That's how bad the pain was.
Through her faith and Rachel's Vineyard, an organization offering retreats for women who have had abortions, Cheryl found peace.
On Rachel's Vineyard, we asked God to reveal the sex of the baby. I didn't even have to think about it. The name Christina came to me. And that's what really helps you heal, is when you put a name, it's your child.
Out of her healing came a new life. Cheryl married and had 3 children, started the Mercy House, and made a promise to God to do his work, helping mothers and anyone else who needed her.
I want to see my baby, and hopefully someday when I die, hopefully I'm going to be able to see her, and that's what I want. And I know I'm not going to be able to do that unless I make it right here.
Cheryl thinks of all the things Christina never got to do. So this is how she honors her every day. In Newark, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
It's hearing stories like Cheryl's that energizes those headed to D.C. for the March for Life. Bishop Robert Brennan will be leading a group from the Diocese of Brooklyn. He joins us now before he leaves for the nation's capital. Hi, Bishop.
Hello, Christine. How are you?
I'm good. So I know you have attended this march for many, many years. This year it's a little different because there's a new or old administration in the White House. President Trump has taken credit for getting Roe v. Wade overturned. The issue is now left to the states, as you know. So is there anything more his administration can do to help the pro-life cause?
I think really it's that consistent, ongoing approach to life and human life and dignity in all of its forms. One of the things that's so important for us, it's less about the legislative piece. That's an important piece, a very important piece. But what we want to be able to do is provide the environment and the support so that we can bring children to birth, so that we can give mothers the help they need, that we can give families that step up. So those kinds of opportunities can make a big difference. The other thing is, you know, there are all kinds of concerns that we have on a pro-life basis in terms of medically induced abortions. And even some of the things about IVF, in vitro fertilization, that creates, in vitro fertilization create embryos, create life, and then discard them. So we have to take some real caution with some of these procedures and find some very sound alternatives. There are very, very sound alternatives. And if we can bring those to light, those are things that could happen.
Absolutely. And New York State is perhaps the most pro-abortion state in the country. The procedure since November is now enshrined in the state's constitution. So how do you convince New Yorkers to continue the fight?
For us in New York, I think as for anywhere, is our #1 priority has to be to bring about a transformation of heart and mind in the culture. You know, I always said, even before Roe v. Wade was overturned, that it won't be a legislative victory. Those can happen, but then they snap back. We really have to bring about a conversion of heart and mind, so that build up a society that really values human life, and especially the most vulnerable of human life.
Right, absolutely. You're celebrating the closing Mass for the National Prayer Vigil this Friday morning. It's kind of a kickoff to the march. So what's your message to the marchers?
It will be a message of encouragement, tying in the fact that they have been there praying all night. They took different shifts. We began with the Mass on, we'll begin with the Mass on Thursday. They'll have prayed throughout Friday morning, throughout the night, and then on Friday morning we have the closing Mass. So it's a combination of that encouragement of what we do in prayer, and then what we're going to be doing later that day in witness. And in witness, what we're doing, two things. One, we're there as American citizens. American citizens have both not only the right but the responsibility to participate in the dialogue towards self-government. And then two, as Christians, we're there to give witness to our hope, to our value of human life.
All right, well, good luck down in D.C. Can't wait to see all the pictures and everything that goes on. Bishop Robert Brennan, thanks so much for being here.
Hopefully it'll be a little warmer.
Yes, fingers crossed. As we do every year, we will bring you full coverage of the March for Life. Just tune in this Friday, January 24th at 11:45 a.m. for a live update. We'll hear from John Lavenberg and Currents News' Katie Vasquez, who will be in the nation's capital reporting on the pro-life demonstration. And of course, for full coverage of the March for Life, tune in later that night, Friday, January 24th at 7 p.m. for Currents News. And that is this Currents News update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.